Imagine waking up on a regular morning, but as soon as you open your front door, you see the ground completely alive, covered by millions of ants. They're crawling up the walls, over the furniture, inside cars, and even on the doorknob you just touched. And the scariest part, this organized army has already forced entire families to flee their homes, leaving everything behind. Sounds like a horror movie, right? But it's real, and the worst part is, it could happen on your street, in your city, at any moment. Now tell me, if this happened to you, what would you do? Would you run away? Would you fight back? Comment down below, and stay with me until the end, because today I am going to reveal the most terrifying case of all. One that happened right here in Brazil and still haunts the locals to this day. And hey, if you like to know about dangers that nobody talks about, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because this video is going to open your eyes. Ready to find out how these ants are able to destroy entire cities, invade homes, hospitals, and put lives at risk? Then don't go anywhere, because what I'm about to tell you is absolutely chilling. Imagine waking up on what seems like an ordinary morning, the sun shining outside, birds singing in the distance. But as you open your front door, you're faced with something almost impossible to believe. The ground is alive. Yes, completely covered by an endless carpet of ants. They are everywhere, crawling up the walls, taking over the furniture, marching across the yard, swarming inside cars, and even creeping over the doorknob you just touched. An organized army, moving in perfect sync, fearless, unstoppable. And at that moment, as the sound of the wind and birds fades away, what takes over the entire scene is the disturbing noise of millions of tiny legs moving non-stop. And the only question that keeps echoing in your mind while panic sets in is, how did this happen so fast? Now, you might think I'm exaggerating, or that this sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, but what I'm about to tell you today is based on real events. Entire cities have been overrun by killer ants, in attacks so violent and coordinated that people had to abandon their homes in a hurry, leaving behind furniture, clothes, and even their most precious memories. The result? Millions of dollars in damages, entire neighborhoods left empty, and worst of all, the constant fear that it could happen again. And here's the most shocking part. These invasions can happen anywhere in the world. I'm including right there in your city, maybe even on your street. But what makes these ants so dangerous? It's not just their terrifying numbers, but the way they act together, fast, smart, ruthless. They invade electrical systems, cause short circuits, destroy entire crops, kill other animals, and won't stop until they completely take over a territory. Today you're going to hear about real-life cases of cities that collapsed because of these invaders, and you'll understand why people all over the world are so worried about the spread of these creatures. And the best part, I'm going to reveal warning signs that could indicate the start of an invasion in your area. Signs most people ignore until it's too late. But hang on, because at the end of this video I'm going to tell you a chilling story that happened right here in Brazil, and that still keeps residents on high alert. You'll be shocked to find out the name of the city and how it all went down. So stay with me until the end. And while you're here, if you enjoy content that uncovers hidden truths and real dangers nobody talks about, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because here you'll see what no one else dares to show. Now tell me in the comments, if today, when opening your door, you saw your house completely overrun by millions of ants, what would you do? Would you run, call for help, try to fight back? Comment down below, because I really want to know how you would react to this real-life nightmare. And stay with me, because the stories I am about to share will definitely keep you up at night. Now that you've already pictured the absolute terror of a massive ant invasion, it's time to understand what makes these tiny creatures become a threat, capable of paralyzing an entire city and turning anyone's daily life into a real-life horror movie. And listen, if you still think of ants as just those annoying little bugs that show up in your kitchen looking for sugar or crumbs, get ready. Because what I'm about to reveal is way scarier than you can imagine. There are species of ants that are true destruction machines with a level of organization, strength, and aggression you would never expect from such a small insect. These ants don't act randomly. They operate like an invisible empire, a perfect society capable of coordinating millions of individuals like a highly trained army. And here's the most terrifying part. Each one knows exactly what to do. There are the scouts who go out first to find new targets, the warriors ready to attack any threat, the workers in charge of transporting food and expanding territory, and of course the queen, laying thousands of eggs daily, growing this army to almost infinite numbers. We are talking about a system so sophisticated that scientists around the world compare these colonies to human armies because of how intelligent and efficient their organization is. And do you want to know what makes it even more dangerous? The secret communication that exists between them. Ants communicate through pheromones, chemical substances invisible to our eyes that leave a trail of messages on the ground, on walls, and on everything they touch. It's like they have their own internet and instant communication system where any piece of information, like a new path, the location of food, or a danger alert, is transmitted to millions of other ants in just minutes. And do you know what that means? If a single ant enters your house and likes what it sees, you can be sure that in just a few hours, your home will be completely surrounded by an endless sea of aggressive ants, launching an invasion that won't stop until everything is consumed. But don't think they're only after sugar or crumbs. These ants attack entire crops, devastate rural areas, kill small animals, and are capable of invading electrical systems. Yes, electrical systems. They sneak inside power boxes, chew on wires, cause short circuits, and there are already documented cases where entire neighborhoods lost power because ants destroyed the energy system. Now imagine waking up in the middle of the night with no electricity, in complete darkness, only to realize that the reason is a gigantic ant invasion spreading through every corner of your home. This is a real scenario, and it's happening more and more often, and the problem doesn't stop there. These invaders are spreading all over the world. In the United States, for example, entire cities are fighting ants that move for miles, invading homes, buildings, and even hospitals. In Australia, the situation got so bad that the government declared a state of emergency in some regions, spending millions of dollars trying to control the advance of these creatures. And if you think Brazil is safe, that's where the real scare begins. Here, leafcutter ants and fire ants are already causing millions in damages in destroying crops, bringing down entire trees, taking over backyards and homes, not to mention attacking pets and even causing severe allergic reactions in children and the elderly. But now comes the most important question. Why is this happening so often? Why are invasions increasing? The answer lies in a global problem that affects us all: climate change and environmental destruction. As forests and natural habitats are destroyed, these ants lose the places where they used to live, and, desperate, they search for new spaces. And what's the perfect target? Our cities, full of water, food, and shelter everywhere. And with rising temperatures which speed up the metabolism of these insects, the problem only gets worse. The more humans invade nature, the more nature fights back. And these ants are on the front line of this silent revenge. Now pay close attention. In the next chapter, we're going to dive into one of the most shocking cases in recent history. An attack so devastating that it turned daily life in an entire city in Texas into a real battlefield, where residents were forced to abandon their homes, and the government had to act fast to prevent an even bigger tragedy. What happened there is a warning to the whole world, and after hearing this story, you will never look at a tiny, and the same way again. So don't leave this video, because what I'm about to tell you next will leave you speechless. Now that you truly understand the real scale of this problem, it's time to dive into one of the most terrifying and shocking cases ever recorded in the world: the ant invasion in the state of Texas, United States. What happened there wasn't just a simple case of kitchen ants searching for sugar. It was a true urban collapse that left residents in a state of panic, caused millions of dollars in damages, and is still studied today by experts as one of the worst ant infestations in modern history. And the scariest part? This could happen anywhere, including your city. It all started quietly, as disasters usually do. Residents in areas like Houston and nearby cities began noticing small groups of ants showing up near power outlets, electronic devices, and wires. Like most people, no one paid much attention. After all, who hasn't seen a few ants wandering around the kitchen, right? But this time, it was different, very different. These weren't ordinary ants. They were the infamous raspberry crazy ants, an extremely aggressive species with a unique behavior. They move chaotically, erratically, as if completely out of control. That's why they're called crazy. But at the same time, they act together, invading any space like an unstoppable force. And what seemed like a tiny, insignificant issue quickly turned into a nightmare, completely out of control in just a few weeks. Small trails became gigantic colonies, and soon millions of ants were spreading across entire streets, homes, schools, businesses, and hospitals. No one was spared. Residents reported ants covering walls, floors, ceilings, furniture, and, most shockingly, invading every electronic device in their homes. Computers, TVs, routers, refrigerators, even washing machines. Everything simply stopped working, burned out by short circuits caused by ants packed inside, chewing through components. Now imagine losing all the electronics in your house within days and not being able to stop it. But it wasn't just the financial loss that terrified the population. The ants began attacking pets, especially dogs and cats, which suffered painful bites and severe allergic reactions. Some even died. Families were left desperate, terrified that small children would be the next victims, and many had no choice but to abandon their homes, fleeing from a terror that was taking over everything. Houses, in just a few days, became completely overrun by ants. When local authorities realized how serious the problem was, they launched a massive operation. Tons of poison was spread, chemical barriers were set up around homes, and specialized teams worked to stop the spread. But nothing worked. The ants adapted, changed their routes, bypassed barriers, and continued their unstoppable invasion. Panic grew even more when hospitals started being attacked. The ants got into medical equipment, invaded machine rooms, damaged essential devices, and there were even reports of entire hospital units being evacuated, with critical patients rushed out because the machines had stopped working. And here's the most shocking part. These ants are still present in many areas of Texas. Despite all government efforts, the colonies were never fully eliminated. And do you know what scientists are warning? With global warming, rising temperatures, and the destruction of natural habitats, these ants are now spreading to new regions, and the real fear is that they will adapt to other countries, including Brazil. After all, our hot, humid, tropical climate would be perfect for them to multiply quickly. The Texas case is a clear example of how a simple colony can turn into an invisible and deadly enemy, capable of stopping an entire city, creating mass panic, and causing unimaginable damage. And if you think this sounds like a movie, wait until you hear the next case I'm going to tell. Because in the next chapter, we're going to talk about the fire ant invasion in Australia, an episode so devastating that the Australian government declared a national state of emergency and completely changed its invasive species control policy. A plague so dangerous and violent that it put the entire country on high alert. And now I want to ask you, if something like this happened in your city, would you be ready? Tell me here in the comments, and don't go anywhere, because what I'm about to reveal next will leave you completely shocked. If the Texas case already left you wide-eyed, what happened in Australia is even more terrifying. Over there, the infamous fire ants, known worldwide for their extremely painful stings and aggressive behavior, became such a dangerous and out-of-control threat that the government itself was forced to declare a state of emergency in several regions of the country. And if you think that was an overreaction, think again, it wasn't. What started as a few small colonies in remote areas turned into a national plague that put the entire country on red alert. It all began quietly when the first colonies were found in rural areas near Brisbane, one of Australia's largest and most important cities. At first, authorities thought it would be simple, just spray some poison and destroy the mounds like any typical urban pest problem. But they quickly realized they were facing something much bigger, smarter, and more resistant than they could have ever imagined. The colonies multiplied at an alarming speed, and when one group was destroyed, others would pop up in new places, as if they were always a step ahead of the pest control teams. This happens because fire ants can create replacement queens, which means even if you destroy the main colony, others can form from a single surviving queen, ensuring their endless expansion. Within a few months, fire ants had invaded urban areas, spreading through schools, hospitals, public parks, and entire neighborhoods. Residents began reporting stings so painful they felt like burns, and the most terrifying part, for people with allergies, these stings caused severe reactions, sending many to the emergency room. There were even cases of children attacked while playing in parks, not knowing about the danger hidden in the grass, and being rushed to the hospital with their bodies covered in stings. A situation so serious that it changed the daily life of thousands of families, forcing people to avoid public spaces and even keep their kids indoors out of fear. And it wasn't just public health that suffered. Fire ants attacked entire farms, causing millions in damages to farmers. They destroy seedlings, invade roots, kill small animals essential to nature's balance, and devastate agricultural production. The result? Entire farms abandoned, rural families without income, and the local economy severely impacted. And to make matters worse, just like in Texas, these ants invaded electrical systems, causing short circuits in underground cables and power boxes, leaving entire neighborhoods in the dark. All because fire ants had chewed through everything inside. Faced with this nightmare, the Australian government mobilized every possible resource. Tons of poison were used, chemical barriers set up, biological controls released, and even drones with sensors flew over cities to map out infested areas. But nothing seemed to work permanently. Fire ants are incredibly adaptable, and even when attacked with powerful chemicals, they survive, reorganize, and keep multiplying, outsmarting even the most advanced combat technologies. The situation became so critical that the government had to declare a national state of emergency, releasing millions of dollars to fund research in hopes of finding a permanent solution to stop the plague. But to this day, the problem hasn't been fully solved. In some regions, fire ants have become part of everyday life. People avoid walking barefoot, reinforce their home defenses, and stop visiting parks, fearing new attacks. Can you imagine living like that? Afraid to leave your house, afraid to let your kids play on the grass, afraid to let your dog out in the yard? Now think about this. If this happened in Australia, why couldn't it happen elsewhere, like in Brazil? After all, our hot and humid climate is the perfect environment for these ants. And here's the scariest part. They've already started appearing here in some regions. And worse, most people don't even realize the risk until it's completely out of control. That's why you need to stay with me, because in the next chapter, we're going to dive into something that hits much closer to home. The advance of these ants in Brazil, with real cases happening right now, to ordinary people in cities just like yours. And the most terrifying part, authorities still don't have a definitive answer. If you want to know what's already happening here and how this could affect your life, don't leave this video, because what's coming next will put you on high alert. If until now you thought these terrifying stories of invasive ants were only happening in distant places like Texas or Australia, it's time to wake up, because this problem is much closer than you think. Right here in Brazil, the situation is becoming alarming, with ant invasions growing at a speed that worries both specialists and residents from different parts of the country. And the scariest part? This is not limited to rural areas. Brazil's largest cities are now targets, turning this into a national emergency. One of the most frightening examples is the rise of fire ants, infamous for their extremely painful stings, causing a burning sensation so intense it feels like your skin is on fire. Hence the name fire ants. These ants are found in every region of Brazil, and now they are multiplying uncontrollably. In places like São Paulo and Minas Gerais, people report backyards and gardens completely taken over by colonies that invade homes and put children, the elderly, and pets at serious risk. And what makes them even worse? Their group attack behavior. If one ant stings, within seconds the entire colony swarms, delivering dozens of stings that can cause severe allergic reactions, including anaphylactic shock in young children, a life-threatening situation. But the nightmare doesn't stop there. Leafcutter ants, famous for carrying chunks of leaves, have become a true terror for farmers. Imagine working for months to grow a garden, only to wake up and see everything destroyed overnight by millions of ants that cut and carry away every leaf, root, and stem, leaving the ground bare. And this is no exaggeration. Some leafcutter colonies have millions of ants connected by underground tunnels that stretch for dozens of meters, completely hidden until the damage is done. In rural areas of Paraná, Mato Grosso, and Goiás, farmers report catastrophic losses, millions of reais in damages, because they can't stop these ants. And just like what happened in Texas and Australia, these ants are also invading urban areas, attacking homes, schools, and businesses. One shocking case happened in a school in Minas Gerais, where children were attacked right inside the classroom. Classes were suspended, and firefighters had to remove the ants and disinfect the building. Imagine the panic of teachers and parents seeing their children covered in aggressive ants. As if that's not enough, there's an even more dangerous reality. In regions near the Amazon, with deforestation and human expansion, new ant species, many still poorly studied, are migrating into urban areas looking for food and shelter. Scientists warn these ants may be even more dangerous, since no one knows how they'll behave outside their natural habitat. So the more we destroy nature, the more it pushes these ants into our homes. And make no mistake, this isn't just a rural issue. Major cities like Rio de Janeiro, Belo Horizonte, and São Paulo are seeing a growing number of cases of ants invading apartments, buildings, and even hospitals. A terrifying case in interior São Paulo forced an entire residential building to evacuate because ants had taken over the electrical system, causing dangerous short circuits and fire risks. Imagine being forced to abandon your home because ants destroyed everything inside the walls. And just like in Australia, the danger is much more than material loss. Fire ants can kill. Public health experts warn that hospitalizations from severe stings are rising. Children, the elderly, and even healthy adults can go into anaphylactic shock if attacked by a swarm. And when ants invade homes, parks, and schools, it's only a matter of time before tragedy strikes. But perhaps the most frightening part is that most people don't notice the danger until it's too late. By the time you see 1 or 2 ants in your house, there may already be millions hidden inside your walls, under your yard, or in the wiring. And the worst part for us in Brazil, There are no specific public policies to combat large infestations. People are left alone, without guidance or support, helplessly watching as their homes and lives are taken over by aggressive ants. Now that you know this danger is right at our doorstep, in the next chapter, we will reveal the most chilling secret about these creatures. How ants organize massive colonies, how they communicate, and why it's so hard to stop them. You'll finally see that behind each tiny ant, there's a collective intelligence that can outsmart traps, avoid danger, and keep spreading no matter what. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share will forever change the way you look at a simple ant. And maybe what helps protect your home and family from this invisible threat. After learning about these terrifying cases in Texas, Australia, and now right here in Brazil, one question keeps echoing in everyone's mind. How do these ants manage to invade entire cities, passing through walls, barriers, concrete floors, and even the best protection systems? The answer, as unbelievable as it may seem, lies in the way they organize, work together, and communicate with almost perfect precision, as if they were part of a collective intelligence far beyond what we can imagine. To start, you need to understand that an ant colony operates like an extremely well-trained army, where each individual has a specific role. While you're sleeping or watching TV, the worker ants are out searching for food, digging tunnels, and exploring new territory. The soldier ants are always on alert, ready to defend the colony against any threat, including humans and pets. And at the center of it all is the queen, the mastermind behind the entire operation, laying thousands of eggs every day, ensuring that their army grows without stopping. But the most impressive, and also the most terrifying thing, is the collective intelligence that emerges from this teamwork. Alone, an ant seems small and harmless, but together they become an unstoppable war machine, capable of destroying crops, invading homes, disabling electrical systems, and even putting lives at risk. All of this is possible thanks to an invisible and efficient communication system based on pheromones, chemical substances ants leave along their paths. When one ant finds food or a safe route, it marks the way, and soon, thousands or even millions of ants are following that same path. And they can invade any place within minutes. These pheromone trails create invisible highways connecting the nest to every location they want to conquer. And if you think walls, concrete floors, or fences will stop them, think again. Many species dig deep underground tunnels which can stretch several meters below the surface, running under house foundations, walls, and even streets, emerging in the most unexpected places like under your couch or inside your walls. And you know what's even scarier? They learn and adapt. If they find an obstacle, they change course, build new paths, and continue the attack. There are documented cases where, after encountering chemical barriers or poison, ants simply went around them, tricked the traps, and kept advancing, as if they knew exactly what they were doing. This ability to adapt makes any attempt to control them seem useless, leaving residents with no way out. Another crucial factor is the absurd number of individuals. A single colony can have millions of ants active at the same time, and worse. Many colonies have more than one queen, which means even if part of the colony is eliminated, the rest keeps growing, so what looked like a solved problem comes back even stronger just a few weeks later. And it doesn't stop there. Some species, like fire ants and crazy ants, are known to create mobile colonies. That's right, if they sense danger, they pick up the queen, the eggs, and young ants and move to a safer location. So while authorities try to eliminate one part of the colony, they are already spreading to another neighborhood, city, or building. Imagine the panic. While you think the problem is over, they're already organizing a new attack, even more hidden and dangerous. And here's something else. Ants know how to hide like no other creature. They invade electronic devices like routers, computers, TVs and power boxes, making nests inside where no one would ever think to look. So, even if you think you've eliminated the nest, they might still be living inside your fridge, oven, or computer, quietly growing and preparing for the next move. Beyond that, there's the invisible damage, which most people only realize when it's already too late. Underground tunnels weaken house foundations, compromise entire structures, damage crops, and cause failures in electrical systems. Bit by bit, wall by wall, these ants destroy everything until the damage is so big that it can't be ignored. Now that you know how these creatures manage to advance so quickly, silently, and dangerously in the next chapter, I'm going to reveal what you can do to protect yourself from an invasion and the warning signs that show a colony is growing near you. Because after everything we've seen so far, one thing is clear: prevention is the only way to avoid living through this nightmare in your own home. So stay with me until the end, because the tips I'm going to give you could save you from a true disaster. Now that you fully understand how these ants manage to invade entire cities, spread at incredible speed, and overcome even the best human barriers, the most important question is, what can you do to protect yourself? How do you prevent your house, garden, or even business from becoming the next target of this invisible and destructive threat? The good news is that although it may seem impossible, there are practical steps you can take today to prevent and even control an infestation before it gets out of hand. And today I'll give you a step-by-step guide on what you can start doing right now to avoid becoming the next victim of these killer ants. The first thing you need to understand, and that many people ignore, is simple. Ants are always searching for three main things: food, water, and shelter. If your house offers any of these, it becomes the perfect target for a new colony. So, step one is to eliminate as much of these sources as possible. Store all food in tightly sealed containers. Never leave open packages, crumbs, or leftovers lying around. Clean immediately after meals and don't leave pet food out too long. For ants, kibble is a feast. Another critical point is garbage. It may seem simple, but open or poorly sealed trash bags, especially left inside the house, become a paradise for ants. So never let trash accumulate and keep bins tightly closed and clean. Wash the bins regularly to eliminate any lingering smell that could attract ants. This simple habit can prevent a colony from deciding to move into your home. Now pay close attention to this. Ants don't need open doors to get inside. They can slip in through the tiniest cracks, window gaps, and even outlets. That's why inspecting your house thoroughly is essential. Look for cracks in walls, windows, doors, baseboards, and electrical boxes. Use silicone or putty to seal all gaps. And don't leave any openings near pipes or cables. The harder it is for them to get in, the safer you'll be. But what if you've already started seeing ants around? Don't wait for them to multiply. Acting fast makes all the difference. One of the best tools are ant baits, which are small traps filled with poison. The worker ants carry the poison back to the nest, killing the whole colony, including the queen, without you having to flood your house with dangerous chemicals. These baits are effective, discreet, and safe, and should be placed wherever you see ants roaming. And if you prefer natural methods, there are also home remedies that help repel ants. Products like vinegar, cinnamon, clove, and black pepper are natural repellents you can use in strategic spots. Spraying vinegar diluted in water along windowsills and door frames, sprinkling cinnamon powder where ants appear, or placing cloves in cracks can significantly reduce their presence. But remember, these methods won't destroy large colonies. They should be used as preventive measures or in combination with other strategies. Now, if you're facing a large, growing infestation, the best solution is to seek professional help. Pest control companies have access to powerful products, advanced traps, and biological techniques that target the nest and eliminate the queen, stopping the colony at its source, all without putting your family in danger. And the sooner you call for help, the less damage and cost you'll face. Speaking of damage, watch out for warning signs that a colony is forming near you. If you notice ants marching in long lines, especially coming from cracks or inside walls, it's a sign of a hidden nest. If you see ants carrying food into crevices, take action immediately. Another clue is piles of dirt or sand in corners near outlets or crack, which could mean they're digging underground tunnels. Don't ignore these signs, because every day you delay, the colony grows stronger and larger. Now that you know how to protect yourself and how to react if an infestation starts, don't miss the next chapter, where we'll reflect on the real danger these ants pose to entire cities and why the world needs to start taking this threat much more seriously. And trust me, what I'm going to reveal will make you think twice about that little ant walking across your kitchen. So stay with me until the end, because the final warning will open your eyes to a danger that grows bigger every day. Now that you've learned about the most terrifying cases of ant invasions and how to protect yourself before things get out of control, it's time for a deeper and more important reflection. Because believe me, these stories go way beyond a simple pest problem. What many people don't realize is that ants represent a much greater danger than they seem, and the scariest part. The risk is growing every year, and almost no one is prepared to face it. Our biggest mistake is underestimating the power of a single ant walking across the kitchen. After all, who hasn't seen one tiny ant and thought, it's just one, it won't cause any harm? But everything we've uncovered here shows the opposite. The real danger isn't the lone ant, it's the massive colony it represents, an invisible army made up of millions of ants working together with a level of collective intelligence capable of overcoming any barrier. And what's worse, they won't stop until they get what they want: food, space, and complete control of the territory. What's truly impressive is the collective strength of these creatures. Millions of ants acting like one body, one mind. They communicate, organize, and create attack, defense, and expansion strategies, just like a trained army. And it's not an exaggeration. They adapt to any obstacle, learn from failures, and come back stronger. An ant colony is a perfect machine for survival and conquest. And here's the real danger. The cases in Texas, Australia, and now Brazil are not isolated incidents. They are signs of a global problem. A problem that will only get worse as humans continue destroying the environment, cutting down forests, burning fields, and building endlessly. By destroying their natural homes, we are pushing ants into our cities, our homes, and our lives. And with climate change and global warming, ants find the ideal conditions to multiply uncontrollably. The most alarming part is that even with all these warning signs, most cities are not prepared to face a large-scale invasion. There's a lack of information, action, and quick response, and worst of all, a lack of awareness from the population. People don't know what to do, don't recognize the early signs, and when they realize the truth, the colony has already taken over everything. Meanwhile, the ants keep advancing, destroying crops, causing massive financial losses, invading homes, schools, hospitals, and putting lives at serious risk. That's why my most important message today is a serious warning. Never underestimate the power of ants. If you start seeing many ants in your home, if you notice organized lines carrying food, or small piles of dirt near walls and outlets, that's a clear sign that a large colony may be forming right there. And if you don't act fast, it could grow to a point where stopping it becomes nearly impossible. But more than just acting individually, we need collective action. We must demand public authorities to take this problem seriously. Just as there are mosquito control programs, we need organized campaigns to fight invasive ants, with public education, guidelines, and real support for affected families. And while these stories are frightening, they also bring an important lesson: the power of unity. If such tiny creatures can conquer entire cities when working together, imagine what we, as humans, could achieve if we acted with the same determination. Maybe nature is teaching us something: the power of the collective, of working together. Maybe it's time to learn this lesson and act before it's too late. So, next time you see a simple line of ants in your house, remember everything we've talked about here today. It may seem like just a small group, but it could be the beginning of something much bigger. Maybe that's the right moment to act, to stop the problem from growing, and to warn others about this invisible danger. To close this chapter, I want to leave you with an important question. Are we really prepared to face the invisible dangers that nature may bring us? Or will these problems, like ants, grow silently until one day we can no longer escape? In the next and final chapter, I'll reveal what you can do right now to protect your home and family, and how to share this knowledge to prevent others from falling victim too. Because when it comes to invasive ants, information is our greatest weapon, and sometimes the only defense we have against a nightmare that could soon reach our door. So, stay with me until the end, because what I'll share next could make all the difference for you and many others. Now that you've made it this far and followed these real, terrifying and absolutely shocking stories about ant invasions, I want to make a very special invitation to you. Because if there's one thing that became clear in this video, it's that these situations are not as distant as we might think. And that's why we can't let this subject stop here. Yes, this needs to be shared, discussed, because the more people know, the more prepared they'll be to deal with this problem before it's too late. So if you like this content, learned something new, or got shocked by all this information, leave your like on this video right now. And look, I'm not saying this just to help the channel. No, this like is important because it tells YouTube that this is relevant content that needs to be delivered to more people. And the more likes this video gets, the more YouTube will recommend it to people who might be going through this exact situation and don't even know it. Imagine, with just one click, you could help someone who's struggling with an ant infestation and doesn't know what to do. Also, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, because here we talk about what nobody else has the courage to say. Real stories that sound like fiction, hidden dangers happening right now, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself. So if you don't want to be caught off guard, subscribe now, because there's a lot more coming. And now I want to hear from you. Have you ever gone through something like this? Have you seen ants invading your house, your yard, or even public places? If yes, share your story here in the comments. Your story could help someone else who's going through the same thing and doesn't know how to act. Think about how many people could be better prepared just by reading your comment. And if you've never experienced this but have questions, want to know more, or want to share your opinion about the video, comment below too. I read all the comments, and whenever possible, I respond to help. Sometimes your question is the same as many others, so don't keep it to yourself. And don't stop there. Share this video with as many people as you can. Send it to family groups, friends, co-workers, neighbors, and even the building's WhatsApp group, because ants don't choose where to attack. It could be a farm, a house, an apartment, a store, a school, or even a hospital. Everyone needs to know what's happening and how to protect themselves. So be the person who shares this essential information. And if you want to help even more, copy the link of this video and share it on WhatsApp, Facebook, Telegram groups, neighborhood chats, and school groups. A lot of people have no idea this problem exists, and they'll only realize when they're already living the nightmare. You can be the one to open their eyes and help prevent a disaster. And don't forget, keep an eye on the channel, because in the next videos, we'll bring other invisible dangers that are already appearing in Brazil and that many people don't even know exist. Did you know that besides ants, there are other invasive species already causing serious damage in several Brazilian cities? That's right. And soon I'm going to tell you everything. So if you want to stay updated, subscribe now, turn on notifications, and take the opportunity to binge watch the other videos on the channel, because there's a lot you need to know to protect your home, your family, and your life. And before we finish, I want to leave you with an important reflection. The information you learn today may be the shield that will protect you tomorrow. So don't keep this to yourself. Share it with the world. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Don't forget the like, subscription, and comment. And I'll see you in the next video with more real stories, more mysteries, and more tips to keep you safe from dangers that no one is talking about, but that are getting closer to us every day. See you there.